Welcome back to the Forensic Archive. Today we decrypt Volume 5, The Subterranean Silence. We have audited the heights and the shadows, but now we look down. The data suggests that the earth beneath our feet is not a static floor. It is an active, biological processor that occasionally decides to open. In this 30-minute mega audit, we investigate the terrifying variable of vertical ingestion, where the ground doesn't just hide you, it digests you. Your field clearance is now confirmed. File number 01, the granular absorption of Maurice Dametz, where the ground acted like a liquid, inhaling an 84-year-old man in 600 seconds. File number 02, the closed paradox of Charles Lyon, the veteran who entered a geological pipe and became a prisoner of its geometry. File number 03, the expert burial of Paul Fugate, the lead ranger who was medically buried in a labyrinth of stone. And File number 04, the molecular compression of Ben McDaniel, the elite diver who was absorbed into the limestone of a locked cave. We are not here for theories. We are here to audit the silence of the earth. To secure your authorization for the next level of briefings, confirm your enlistment in the archive now. The audit of the subterranean silence begins now. Stay safe. Stay found. 1981, Topaz Mountain, Utah. We are entering a coordinate where the very ground beneath our feet acts as a predatory filter. Maurice Dametz, an 84-year-old retired machinist and experienced rockhound, arrived here with a close friend to search for topaz crystals. This was not a rugged expedition. It was a hobbyist's afternoon in the sun. Maurice, due to his age and physical limitations, was positioned at a specific flat digging site while his friend walked to a nearby ridge, less than 150 yards away. It was a standard 10-minute interval, 600 seconds of visual disconnection. When the friend returned at exactly 4 p.m., the digging site was a forensic void. Maurice's tools were there. His collection bag was there. But the man was gone. The field logic. In a flat, open volcanic terrain, an 84-year-old man with mobility issues cannot travel more than 50 yards in 10 minutes. Yet, in every direction, the horizon was empty. We call this the 10-minute evaporation, a point where the subject is not taken away from the site, but down into the very matrix of the mountain. We must perform a forensic audit of the Topaz Mountain geology. This region is composed of rhyolite tuff, a loose volcanic ash that can exhibit non-Newtonian fluid behavior under specific frequencies. The field logic. We analyze the principle of granular absorption. Under the law of gravity, Fg the Zauberemg, a solid mass should remain on the surface. But if the ground's viscosity, E, drops due to localized seismic resonance or thermal shifts, the Earth undergoes liquefaction. To put this in field logic terms, imagine a bowl filled with dry, loose flour. If you place a heavy marble on top, it stays on the surface. But if you gently vibrate the bowl, the flour acts like a liquid, and the marble is instantly inhaled into the white powder, leaving the surface perfectly flat. Maurice Dametz was that marble. He didn't walk away into the brush. He was absorbed by a pocket of unstable volcanic ash that liquefied for a fraction of a second. The mountain didn't just hide his body, it digested his mass into its subterranean layers. The search was a masterclass in frustration. Over 100 personnel, including bloodhounds and specialized geological teams, spent weeks auditing the Thomas Range. They used 10-foot steel probes, driving them deep into the loose ash to find a pocket of air or a biological remains. They found nothing. The dogs, trained to track scent particles, could not pick up a single molecular trail leading away from the digging site. The field logic. The lack of a horizontal trail is a definitive data point. If there is no trail on the X dollars or Y dollars axis, the only remaining variable is the Z dollars axis, the vertical descent. We analyze the thermal logs. In the cooling desert evening, a human body should be a beacon of heat. But the mountain's rhyolite layers acted as a thermal shield, masking the heat of anything buried more than 3 feet deep. Maurice wasn't lost in the woods. He was archived beneath them. The ground closed over him so perfectly that the searchers were walking directly over his coordinates, unaware that the data they sought was 6 feet beneath their boots. The disappearance of Maurice Dametz remains a canary in the coal mine for search and rescue operations in volcanic terrains. It forced a total reevaluation of surface assumptions. We now understand that in certain geological zones, the ground is not a floor but a trap door waiting for a specific weight or frequency. Today, his case is taught in forensic geology as the ultimate warning of subterranean ingestion, the idea that the Earth can reclaim biological matter in a span of minutes without leaving a single footprint. Every safety protocol that warns rockhounds about unstable ash pockets is written in the silence of Maurice's empty digging site. He remains a permanent entry in our archive of the ground suction, the man who was subtracted from the world by the very soil he was trying to mine. Topaz Mountain does not give back the crystals it takes, and it certainly does not give back the men. We have concluded the audit of the Dametz file. The ground suction remains a terrifying variable in our reality, but the subterranean silence is growing louder. Your authorization to access case ERASURE 2. Charles Lyon, the man who entered a volcanic lava tube and found himself in a closed geometric paradox, is now being processed. This next file will challenge your understanding of inside and outside. To maintain your field clearance and ensure you receive this next classified briefing for Volume 5, you must confirm your enlistment in the archive now. Hit the subscribe button to authorize your access to the truth that hides beneath the surface. The ground is watching your every step. Stay vigilant, stay safe, stay found. This has been a forensic audit by TheDarkestFilesTV. June 1986. Craters of the Moon, Idaho. We are entering a coordinate where the geometry of inside and outside begins to fracture. Charles Lyon, an experienced outdoorsman, arrived at this desolate volcanic landscape, a place that looks more like the lunar surface than Earth. He entered the lava tube systems, a network of subterranean pipes formed by ancient molten rock. These are not standard caves. They are singular, linear tunnels of basalt. Charles was seen entering one of these tubes, a space with a defined entrance and a defined exit. But for Charles Lyon, the exit was deleted from the map. When he failed to emerge, the alarm was raised. We are auditing a closed paradox, a scenario where a biological mass enters a finite enclosed pipe and simply ceases to exist within that volume. The field logic. In a lava tube, there are no hidden side passages, no secret chambers. It is a geological pipeline. To vanish inside a pipe is to violate the fundamental laws of occupancy. Charles Lyon didn't just get lost. He was geometrically dislocated from the tunnel's interior. We must perform a structural audit of the lava tube's geometry. Basalt is a highly magnetic and porous rock, capable of distorting standard radio and compass signals. The field logic. We analyze the principle of geometric dislocation. In certain high anomaly volcanic structures, the internal space can exhibit topological folding. To put this in field logic terms, imagine a standard drinking straw. You can see through it, and you know that what goes in one end must come out the other. But imagine if the straw was made of a material that could fold the inside into a fourth dimension. To an observer, a fly enters the straw and simply vanishes halfway through. It hasn't hit a wall. It has entered a Mobius trap, a loop where the coordinates of forward and backward are corrupted. Charles Lyon wasn't trapped by rock. He was trapped by the subterranean silence of a space that had folded in on itself. The mountain didn't just hide him, it turned the tunnel into an infinite loop where the exit was no longer a reachable coordinate. The search operation was a forensic nightmare. Expert cave rescue teams, equipped with powerful lighting and seismic sensors, audited every inch of the lava tubes. They crawled through the dead-end crawl spaces and checked every ceiling collapse. The data logs returned a value of absolute 0. No dropped flashlight, no scuff marks on the sharp basalt floors, no biological scent for the K9 units to track. The field logic. The lack of evidence in a closed system is a definitive data point. If a subject is not in the tunnel and they did not exit the tunnel, we are forced to conclude a volumetric deletion. We analyze the infrared data from the cave's interior. In the constant cool temperature of the lava tubes, a human body should glow like a thermal beacon for hours. Yet, the sensors recorded only the flat, indifferent heat signature of the volcanic rock. Charles wasn't missing in the cave. He was no longer occupying the cave's volume. He had been subtracted from the three-dimensional map of Idaho. The disappearance of Charles Lyon remains a canary in the coal mine for subterranean search and rescue. It forced a total re-evaluation of containment protocols. We now understand that a closed cave is not always closed, and a linear tunnel is not always straight. Today, his case is taught in advanced rescue training as the ultimate warning of geometric uncertainty, the idea that volcanic structures can override our sense of Euclidean space. Every safety protocol that warns explorers about magnetic interference and spatial disorientation in lava tubes is written in the silence Charles left behind. He remains a permanent entry in our archive of the closed paradox, the man who entered a pipe and became a part of its eternal, dark geometry. The lava tubes of Idaho do not offer exits to those they decide to archive. We have concluded the audit of the Lyon file. The closed paradox remains a terrifying variable in our subterranean records, but the silence beneath the earth is growing even more complex. Your authorization to access case PROLOGUE 3. Paul Fugate, the expert park ranger who vanished into a labyrinth of stone pillars and was medically buried by the terrain, is now being processed. This next file will test your understanding of expert immunity. To maintain your field clearance and ensure you receive this next classified briefing for Volume 5, you must confirm your enlistment in the archive now. Hit the subscribe button to authorize your access to the truth that hides between the rocks. The Earth is listening to your heartbeat. Stay vigilant. Stay safe. Stay found. This has been a forensic audit by TheDarkestFilesTV. January 1980, Chiricahua National Monument, Arizona. We are entering a coordinate where the line between the seeker and the lost was permanently erased. Paul Fugate was not a visitor. He was the lead park ranger. He was the master of this maze, a man who had spent years auditing every trail, every canyon, and every hidden crevice of these towering rhyolite pillars. On a clear winter afternoon, Paul told his colleague he was going for a short hike to check a specific trail. He was wearing his official uniform, carrying no heavy gear, because he wasn't going into the unknown. He was walking through his own office. He was seen by visitors near the trail entrance at 2:00 p.m., but when the sun dipped below the stone pillars, the lead ranger failed to check back in. The field logic. When a layperson disappears, we look for errors in judgment. But when the expert vanishes, we are looking at a systemic deletion. Paul Fugate didn't get lost in the rocks. He was archived by them. We call this the expert burial, a scenario where the subject's knowledge of the terrain is overwritten by the terrain itself. We must perform a forensic audit of the Chiricahua geometry. These are hoodoos, ancient volcanic pillars that create a fractal labyrinth. In such a complex environment, the laws of visual identification are corrupted. The field logic. We analyze the principle of forensic overlay. This is a state where a biological object is not hidden behind something, but integrated into the background data. To put this in field logic terms, imagine a jigsaw puzzle of a dense forest. If you take one single piece and place it perfectly in its slot, it becomes invisible to the casual observer. Paul Fugate was that puzzle piece. He wore a green and tan uniform designed to blend into the Arizona brush. When he entered the shadows of the pillars, he didn't just walk into a cave. His physical presence was overlaid by the vertical textures of the rocks. The mountain didn't need to bury him under soil. It buried him in plain sight by matching his biological coordinates with the geological frequency of the stone pillars. The search for Paul Fugate was a logistical anomaly. Because he was the lead ranger, the initial search was biased. Searchers didn't look where a person would fall, they looked where an expert would go. They audited every high-altitude peak and every logical survival shelter. They found zero. No radio signal, no dropped badge, no footprints from his official issue boots. The field logic, the expert bias in search operations, creates a data blind spot. While teams were searching the distant peaks, they were likely walking within 10 feet of the subterranean silence where Paul had been archived. We analyzed the thermal data of the hoodoos. Rhyolite rock retains heat long after the sun goes down. In a thermal audit, the heat of the rocks masks the heat of a human body, creating a thermodynamic camouflage. Paul Fugate wasn't missing, he was a heat ghost, a thermal signature that had been absorbed by the very pillars he was sworn to protect. The disappearance of Paul Fugate remains a canary in the coal mine for the National Park Service. It shattered the illusion of expert immunity. His case forced a total re-evaluation of the buddy system for rangers and changed the tactical protocols for searching for law enforcement personnel in high anomaly zones. Today, his name is taught in SAR training as the ultimate warning of familiarity risk. The idea that knowing a place doesn't make you safe, it only makes you a more integrated part of its archive. Every ranger who checks in every 30 minutes today is doing so because of the silence Paul left behind in 1980. He remains a permanent entry in our archive of the expert burial, the man who became the very rocks he was trying to map. The stone pillars of Arizona do not speak, and they do not release their rangers. We have concluded the audit of the Fugate file. The expert burial remains a chilling variable in our subterranean records, but the silence beneath the earth has one final, crushing chapter. Your authorization to access case number 04. Ben McDaniel, the elite diver who entered a locked underwater cave and was compressed by the mass of the spring, is now being processed. This final file for Volume 5 will challenge the very laws of solid matter. To maintain your field clearance and ensure you receive this final classified briefing, you must confirm your enlistment in the archive now. Hit the subscribe button to authorize your access to the ultimate termination point. The water is deep and the earth is heavy. Stay vigilant, stay safe, stay found. This has been a forensic audit by TheDarkestFilesTV. August 18, 2010, Vortex Spring, Florida. We are entering the final and most crushing coordinate of Volume 5, a point where the weight of the water meets the absolute silence of the earth. Ben McDaniel, a 30-year-old elite diver, was an asset obsessed with the limits of exploration. He was seen by ranch employees at dusk, descending into the depths of the spring. Ben didn't just go for a swim. He had a key to a locked steel gate located 58 feet below the surface. A gate designed to keep humans out of a lethal, narrow cave system. He was seen by another diver at that gate, heading in. Ben McDaniel entered a pipe of rock and water that had no secondary exit. He entered a finite volume. The field logic. In a closed hydraulic system, an object that enters a pipe must occupy space. But when Ben failed to resurface, the audit of that space returned a value that violated the laws of displacement. Ben McDaniel hadn't just drowned, he had been integrated into the subterranean architecture of Florida. The search operation was a masterclass in specialized forensics. We didn't send standard divers. We sent the gods of the subterranean world, men like Ed Sorensen, who can navigate crevices where a human heart barely has a room to beat. These experts performed a 100% saturation search of the cave system. They pushed through the choke points that were so narrow even Ben, a large man, would have struggled to pass. They searched every silt bed, every ceiling pocket, and every dead end. The data was definitive. Ben McDaniel was not in the cave. We audited the oxygen tanks. 2 tanks were found at the entrance, but the man and the rest of his gear were missing. The field logic. We analyzed the principle of finite containment. If a body, $V1, enters a cave with a known volume, $V2, and the cave has no other exits, the body must be recovered within those coordinates. The fact that he was not found suggests a molecular compression, a state where the subject's mass is no longer identifiable as a human form. We must perform a forensic audit of the physics at 100 feet of depth. The pressure is nearly 4 times that of the surface, P4 atm. The field logic. We analyze the concept of molecular compression under extreme hydraulic and geological pressure in a space that offers no escape. The line between biological matter and geological structure begins to blur. To put this in field logic terms, imagine a dry, porous sponge pushed into a tiny, jagged crack in a stone wall. If you apply enough pressure, the sponge doesn't just sit there, it conforms so perfectly to the rock's texture that it becomes a secondary skin. To a casual observer, the sponge is gone. There is only the wall. Ben McDaniel was the sponge. In the subterranean silence, his biological mass didn't just stop moving. It was compressed into the porous limestone walls of the spring. We didn't find a body because the body had become the environment. The cave didn't just take his life. It absorbed his mass into its internal anatomy. The disappearance of Ben McDaniel remains a canary in the coal mine for the cave diving community. It shattered the illusion of technical superiority. His case forced a total reevaluation of cave access and led to the permanent sealing of several high-risk coordinates in Florida. Today, his name is taught in recovery training as the ultimate warning of volumetric risk, the idea that some spaces are too small for the human soul to occupy without being crushed by the weight of the earth. Every diver who looks at a locked gate today is reminded of the silence Ben left behind in 2010. He remains a permanent entry in our archive of mass compression, the man who entered a rock and became its eternal pulse. The waters of Florida are deep, and the caves are narrow. They do not offer apologies, and they do not offer exits. We have concluded the final audit of Volume 5, The Subterranean Silence. From the ground suction of a mountain to the molecular compression of a spring, the data is singular. The Earth is an active auditor of our presence. Volume 5 is now sealed. But the archive is expanding into a new, even more disturbing territory. Your authorization to access the upcoming Volume 6, The Biological Glitch, the investigation into those who were found, but whose bodies had been rewritten by the terrain, is now being processed. To grant yourself field clearance for the next level of briefings, you must confirm your enlistment in the archive now. Hit the subscribe button to authorize your next briefing. The audit never sleeps. Stay vigilant, stay safe, stay found. This has been a forensic audit by TheDarkestFilesTV. The audit of the subterranean silence is complete. From the volcanic ash of Utah to the limestone caves of Florida, the data confirms a singular, crushing truth. The Earth is not a passive environment. It is an auditor that archives mass and deletes biological signatures at will. These 4 files are the canaries in the coal mine for every modern explorer. Today's subterranean search protocols and geological hazard maps are written in the silence of those who were integrated into the crust. The ground does not explain, and it does not apologize. It only absorbs. Your investigation for Volume 5 is now closed, but the archive is evolving into its most disturbing phase yet. Your authorization for Volume 6, The Biological Glitch, an investigation into those who were found, but whose bodies had been rewritten by the terrain, is currently pending. To grant yourself final clearance and unlock the next classified briefing, you must hit the subscribe button now. Authorization is earned by those who do not fear the truth beneath the surface. Stay vigilant, stay safe, stay found. This has been a forensic audit by TheDarkestFilesTV.